There was a month there where the commissions equaled, in that month, the commissions equaled my annual salary from Fort Bliss. And I said, I'm never going back.
All right, we are back for another episode of the Entrepreneur Foxhole. This is where military grit meets entrepreneur success. We have another entrepreneur that we have the pleasure of interviewing. He has done some amazing stuff in his field, which he's going to talk about. He's an amazing person, and he's been doing some things on and off the battlefield, as you will, that really is a testament about what he's gotten through. Had some ups and downs and things that we want to learn about. And he's been just a success story, but I'm sure we're going to find out about some of the things that maybe not so successful and how his mind changed in that process. So without further ado, we have Mr. Peter Huerta.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So who is Peter? Give us a breakdown of who Peter is and how you introduce yourself.
Well, I'm first and foremost born again Christian, saved and baptized probably about 20 years ago. I'm a veteran. I was in the military for several years. I was in the infantry. I was a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was a single father for quite some time. Got out of the military. I was a single father for quite some time. I spent some time in the GS system. I was a GS employee for a while. Then I became a contractor, federal contractor, and I was flipping homes on the side and just doing a couple of transactions here and there. And kind of got to the point where I was like, man, I think I may pursue this full time. And so I ended up pursuing my real estate license.
And so from the 82nd, is anything from the 82nd that, that resonates with you now in your business world that you take away from the 82nd?
You know what? There's so many correlations between holding a leadership position in the military and transitioning into the civilian world. I mean, there's just a lot of direct influence there. But I would say the main quote that stuck with me from my time in division until now is leaders jump first and eat last. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard that before. And so that quote has just kind of stuck with me over the years, and I apply that, not just in the military, but I apply it to my business as well.
Yeah, and for y'all watching, it's not just about eating. It's so much more than that quote.
Yes,
because I can resonate with that so much.
Yes, So we know what you're saying and how elite that is. But you said you were an infantry soldier and a paratrooper.
Yes.
There's so many people out there that don't know, but I just want to know, like, how many jumps do you have? First of all.
When I was in the military, I had 47, but now as a civilian, I continue to jump with an organization out in Florida.
Yes.
And so I have several jumps with them, probably in the 60s somewhere. Wow. Yes, sir.
So when that green light comes on, what goes through your mind, Peter? And does it ever change?
There's a saying also in the airborne community: when the green light pops, the nonsense stops. It's not nonsense. It's another
you get
word.
Focused though.
Yeah. And so, you know what? I think it's a little bit more, I don't know how Ben feels about this, but I felt like it was a little bit more nerve-wracking leading up to the jump.
Yeah.
Right? The procedures that you go through, the actions in the aircraft. But once you hook that static line up, I think it all just kind of goes out the door, and you're just game on.
Yeah. So you're just thinking about what you got to do.
Just thinking about what you got to do next.
Yeah, I understand. That's very true.
Yeah.
Now you say you still jump. I got to ask, why?
I never intended to continue jumping. One of my friends from Fort Bragg had reached out to me. It's kind of a funny story. He reached out to me and he sent me a Facebook post, and he said, hey, do you want to jump again? And I was like, no.
That's what I was
right. Nope. And he said, it's a water jump. And I said, you have my attention. And then so he starts telling me about this organization in Florida. It's called Phantom Airborne Brigade. And showed me a couple of highlight videos, and they were jumping into the water.
Yeah, I watched them.
And so I was like, okay, I think I could take that, right? I think my body could, yeah. I don't think I could take the impact from a land jump, but I could probably absorb something like that. And so I said, you know what, I'm interested, but let me call my dad, because my dad jumped as well.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, Dad, do you have one more jump left in you? And I said, it's a water jump.
Wow.
And I think my mom was getting mad in the background.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And so he was like, heck yeah, I'm down to do it. And so we contacted the organization. They signed us up. And so it wasn't necessarily that I got to jump again. It was that I got to jump with my dad.
Right.
It was more about being able to share that experience with him, because we didn't get to do that together. We were on active duty at the same time.
Okay.
We just never got to jump together. And so it was more about jumping with my dad one time, but then we both got hooked, and then we just kept going.
That's incredible, man. That's amazing.
And
wow.
Kind of a funny story on that. When my dad was in, I was a teenager. I was like 13, 14 years old. And so he used to jump when I was in high school. And so I would get to see him jump every now and then. So I got to meet some of his friends. Well, after he and I jumped the first time, he called his friends, I called my friends. And next thing you know, it turned into this big thing. And so some of the guys that had known me as a teenager are now seeing me as a grown man, and I'm jumping with them, and I'm jumping with his friends. He's jumping with my friends. So it turned into a very great experience. So.
It's amazing. And since you already went there, I'm gonna kind of jump out of our order that we have. So tell us about the mission for the Phantom Brigade. What's the mission right now? What's that's all about?
You know what? It's an organization. I've never seen anything like it. Right. So in the military, once you get out, you may be accustomed to having like military reunions, right? You may get together with your buddies from the military. You may get together over like a 3-day weekend, 4-day weekend. I feel like these are, with Phantom, I feel like it's a reunion on steroids.
Wow.
Because you're coming back together, you're sharing, 2-3 days together, but on top of all that, you get to jump together and just relive that moment.
Which is
incredible.
Wow.
And like I said, it's a water jump. It's low impact. So, there's guys that jump with us that are, one individual, his name is Freddie. I think he's like 92 years old.
Yeah.
And he still jumps with us. And then there's some guys in their 20s. So you have veterans from all eras that come, in their 20s all the way up until their 90s, and they're still jumping.
What's the difference? What's the difference from jumping with the 82nd and doing the Phantom jump?
I start by saying this. The 82nd can take a lot of notes from Phantom, because we're in and out of the airplane in like 10 minutes, and the 82nd, it's an all day thing. It's a 12, 13, 14-hour thing.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference obviously is, a lot of my jumps in division were at night, right? They were tactical, full battle rattle, combat equipment. So we had a lot of that. In Phantom, it's just, there's no gear. You have a life vest on, and you hit the water, and the boats come pick it. Yeah, you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so, definitely quite an experience. I've been jumping with them for about 4 years now.
Wow.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can get into details or not, but like, how is it funded and things of that nature? Like, how's that? That takes money.
So it's a nonprofit organization. However, they still charge you, for your parachute and things like that. They do have membership dues.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a parachute club, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to pay membership dues. You do have to pay for your parachute, but they also have sponsors.
Okay.
And so they're able to get sponsors from nationwide companies, even some local companies. And so I would say that they're pretty well funded.
Are they local here in El Paso?
No, they're in Florida. They're based out of Florida.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Let me get to something. You kind of bet on yourself. So I'm gonna get into that chapter.
Okay.
6 months, no sales, no commissions. Most people would have quit. Why didn't you?
I did try to quit. That was a funny thing. I did try to quit, but I feel like I don't feel the Lord had different plans for me.
Yes.
And I'll expand on that a little bit. So I came into real estate. I I was with a small local brokerage. And, in real estate, everybody's busy, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's in their own little world. And so when you're with one of these small boutique brokerages where everybody's producing, you're the only new agent in the office, it was hard to like get questions answered, or I'm very structured, right?
Mhm.
Very structured. And I'm sure you guys are the same way. I like to be told A, B, C, and D. Do this and you'll be
succeed.
successful.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with real estate is it's different for everyone. And what may work for me may not work for you. What works for you
Absolutely.
may not work for
Yep.
me, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very hard for me to adjust because there was no real structure. And so I was doing what I was told, right? Like do open houses, go to realtor tours, do all these things, but they weren't necessarily working for me. And so I was doing that month after month for about 6 months. I was getting a little frustrated because I was tapping into my savings, and I was just pretty much living off my savings. I didn't really have anything coming in. And so even when I got my first sale on month 6, the commission still wasn't really enough to tap into what I had been draining from my account, right?
Yeah.
And so I got my first sale at about 6 months in, and then I remember just kind of asking myself, what next? Because I got to go get another
get
one.
another
Right?
one. Yeah.
And that was easier said than done,
Yeah.
And so you asked me why didn't I quit? I actually tried to quit. So actually after my first sale, I started applying for GS positions and even and contract positions. I was even applying for positions that I was overqualified for.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need something.
You need something.
Yeah. And so
Got to make it happen.
and so when I mentioned that the Lord had different plans for me, I would apply for a job that I was more than qualified for,
Yeah.
and then I wouldn't hear anything. And then I would apply for another job, and then I wouldn't hear anything. And then I would apply for another job, and then a transaction would fall into my lap. And then I would apply for another job, I wouldn't hear anything, and another opportunity would fall into my lap. And so it felt like the more I applied, the more deals started falling into my lap. And I felt like it was the Lord just saying, hey, don't go back there. I have a different plan for you. Yeah. And even still, like in the first 12 months, it was a little bit of a challenge because the money was sporadic, right? And I was used to a paycheck every 2 weeks, and the money was sporadic. It was hard to budget a little bit, but I would say by like year 2, maybe 2.5, it started becoming a little bit more consistent. Now it was easier to budget.
Yeah.
But that first year, maybe even the first 14, 15 months, it was a little challenging. Even though I was getting some deals, the money was sporadic, and it did make me want to go back to something more secure like the government system.
And so when that was going on, the time frame, you said 12 months or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it about that time? Because a lot of people don't have a perspective in what this looks like. What you're talking about is probably the classic real estate progression.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing for about 6 months. People don't understand that. That does happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then before you actually up and running and maybe got a little rhythm, how long you think that happened for you?
Till I got up and running.
But had some rhythm on some clothes.
Oh, had some rhythm. I would say where I can look back and say the income has been consistent by year 2.
By year 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So how long did it take you to say, I don't want to do this? It's a compound question.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did it take you to figure out this is going to work?
That was on year 3. And
how long did it take you to say, I don't want to do this? About 3 months, 6 months?
I started having those thoughts probably about 4 to 5 months in.
Okay.
I think in this business, you're going to encounter people that are very indecisive, right?
Yes.
Let's just use buyers, for example. They may be a little indecisive, where, they may not commit right away, and it's going to take a little bit of nurturing. And I think the military side of me was like,
yeah, come on.
Just come on, let's hurry up and buy. And what's taking you so long? Like
we laugh and joke and play about it.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody in charge out here.
That's right.
You got your license, but ain't nobody in charge out here. So
we all private. We're all
that's the problem. Ain't nobody in charge of nobody.
Yeah. And so that, the first, let's just say 4 to 6 months, it was, I began having those thoughts because did I have leads in the pipeline? Yes, I did. But were they committing?
Yeah.
No, that getting them to commit was a different story. And in that time frame, initially I even had the experience that many agents have, which was somebody may talk to you. You may even be able to show them a couple of houses and schedule some appointments with you, and they end up using another agent. And so I experienced some of that in the beginning as well. And it was just a lot of things that were frustrating that continued to compound, that I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily for me.
Yeah.
And then on your second question, when I fully committed, I would say on year 3. On year 3, there was a month there where the commissions equaled, in that month, the commissions equaled my annual salary from Fort Bliss.
Wow. Yeah.
And I said, I'm never going back.
Yeah. That's right.
So describe that. I want to go back to that month, take you back, and your moment in time that you realized that. Describe that moment to me.
I say that with a very humble and grateful attitude. I don't say that like I don't mean to come across like I'm bragging in any way.
It's significant.
I just felt like at that moment my eyes were open to all the possibilities, right? Yes.
I agree.
To income potential, to what is actually possible in this business. And so I knew that at that moment I don't want to work for anybody anymore.
Time, yes.
And no
time
matter
versus
what
money.
Yeah, no matter what it takes, I'm gonna make this work because I'm not going back.
Yep.
I asked you that question to take you back to the moment because I had something similar. Mine was because I was doing this moonlighting, right, as a real estate agent. And then I had a 90-day period where I made in 90 days, not like a month, but in 90 days, and I was making good money, right?
Oh, I know. I got the questions lined up for you.
Money on boats, And in 90 days, I hit that. In 90 days, I crushed it. And I remember my moment in time when it happened for me. I was like, you know what? The foundation, the skill set, what I've just learned in this process has taken me to a place that I never thought I could ever be, or the person I could become, because I was like, okay, I can do this, and I don't have to rely on nobody no more. I'm betting on myself because I feel like I've developed the skill set. That moment wasn't about the money. For me, it was about I'm capable and I got the skill set to do this. And there was more about that. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the money was great, but that moment for me was like, yeah, this is, I never thought I would be here.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you.
Yeah.
It was not about the money. It was about who I was becoming,
Right.
Who I was becoming in the process. Right. And so I'm actually kind of glad you brought some of that up, Ben, because I did have a question for you, because
I never had nobody ask this question.
I know he brought his own questions.
So just for the moment, just let y'all know, we ain't never had nobody, bro.
Oh, well, I've been a fan. I've been a fan of Ben Williams for a long time. I've watched you from the sidelines for a long time. I've always cheered you on. I was like, man, that's my guy right there. And so I'm only bringing this up because you're touching on it.
Okay.
But when I met you, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were retired. You were a GS-12?
I was.
A GS-12, and you were a realtor.
Yes.
At the same. And I remember looking at Ben and I was like, man, save some money for the rest of us.
Yes, right.
But my question is, what made you decide to leave the security of the government sector and pursue real estate full time?
Control of my time. Even though I probably work now, he's here with me all the time. I probably work now more than any of those times, but it's still, I control it.
That's right.
If I want to turn it on, turn it off, I can control it anytime I want. And I found out the type of person I am, for me, I will kill for my time.
Yeah.
The control of it. Yeah. And I didn't know that for 27 years.
Yeah.
That I never knew that was so important to me, because I was just doing what people told me to do.
Yeah.
And once I realized that was like, okay, yeah, that was worth.
Yeah.
Let that go.
Yeah. I'd rather, and I'm sure you feel the same way, I'd rather work 70 hours for myself than 40 for someone else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But that was for me.
And you?
For me, when I retired, I was working on posts. I taught for several years at the Sergeant's Major Academy. And
this guy.
Then I went to
this guy. We can get in that.
Yeah, that's another podcast. And then I ran a training center on the CSF2. We taught MRT and performance skills and things like that. Well, anyway, my youngest son was starting to get into things, scouts, sports, and all of those types of things. And I said I want to be there for him, unlike I was there for my previous sons, because I was in the Army. And I said, okay, then I'll go be a realtor. That way I can plan my job around my work around the things that are important to me. And that's what I did. I never missed anything. I didn't miss any scouting events. I didn't miss any sporting events, parent teacher conference, vacation. I was always there because real estate did that for me. I didn't have a 9 to 5.
No, it's a great feeling to be able to be there for your children and not
Yes.
miss out on those
Mhm.
those special moments with them.
Mhm.
I had the same experience. When I got into real estate, my son was playing football and basketball, and so I was able to schedule my appointments around his games,
Yeah,
his
and they
practices.
travel.
They travel, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that luxury when I was in the GS system or when I was a contractor. I just sometimes I would miss some of his events because I was at work.
Yeah.
And once I had
Yeah.
that freedom, I was like, man, this
I'm
is
not
great.
missing anything.
Yeah.
I never did.
When that month happened, did you feel that you had became a entrepreneur that month, or did you already say, "Hey, I am one"? I think there's two different things going on there. Because I got my personal thought about what I thought, and that's when I'm bringing it up.
I've never really looked at it that way.
Mhm.
I think up until that point, I just started experiencing a little bit of success. Right, I was definitely making more than I was, at my previous employer. But then there's also things that we had to account for, like taxes and
Mhm.
operating expenses and marketing expenses
Yeah.
and things like that. So yes, I was making more money, but I was also spending on things that I wasn't accustomed to spending on. Right, as an employee, you just don't have to absorb. I'm an entrepreneur, but I think it was in that month. It was like the deciding factor for me, which was like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this full force.
How did being a U.S. Army paratrooper prepare you for?
And being in the infantry, you see there's a lot of hard days out there, right?
Yes, for sure.
Physically, mentally,
For sure.
it takes its toll on you. And so my hardest day in real estate, I uh, I always, no matter how hard it gets in real estate, think back to some of those
Yeah.
days, and I'm just like,
Yes.
it can always be worse.
Yes.
Can always be worse.
Well, I needed that right in this moment.
Yeah, that's good. I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You say you no longer, going back to your notes, you no longer really satisfied selling homes as a agent, right? And you're moving on to something else, and looks like you're now opening the door to building.
So I think there started being a transition maybe in my mindset about maybe a year and a half
Mhm.
ago, and I built my house from scratch. I saw it being built from from the ground up. By no means does that make me a home builder, but I had that experience. I've repeated that same experience with several clients. Right, new construction, you
Mhm.
get to see the entire process from beginning to end. I've flipped some homes, right? So I've had experience on tearing down drywall and just kind of seeing what goes on behind the walls, right? And some of that process. And so I just started thinking, I said, I know enough of this process that if somebody were to just kind of take me by the hand, I feel like I can succeed in this area as well. And once I started looking at the numbers and the profit margins that a lot of these builders make, I just and, and just getting around some big thinkers, I just started feeling like, you know what, I don't think I'm playing big enough.
Yeah.
I want to play bigger. And so I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've had, as an agent, as a realtor, for all the clients that have entrusted me. But I do feel that nudge to, go to the
Yeah.
next level,
Yeah.
And so I've talked to some home builders, they've been gracious enough to have lunch with me and kind of give me their perspective, right? But then I've also met with architects and, people that are actually working in that field. And I feel confident enough that I have enough people around me that can kind of hold me by the hand and, just guide me in the right direction. I know that I'm going to probably make some mistakes, like,
Of course.
like we all do when we're first starting, but,
Yeah.
the experience is the best teacher, and so I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. What scares you most about becoming a builder developer? Wait, let me just say why I'm asking this question, not because I'm looking at the negative, because somebody's going to be watching this podcast and they're going to have some of the same types of fears. And if you express those and you show like, okay, I have these fears, but I'm still going to go for it. then it might motivate someone else to do the same thing.
I think some of my fears may stem from some of my experience in flipping homes.
Yeah.
So I've purchased homes that I felt were a good deal. The spread was great. It made sense on paper. Everything looked great. Then you get into it. You have these unexpected expenses that come up, unexpected bumps in the road that come up. And next thing you know, this deal that looked great on paper is no longer a great deal.
It was fraggled at the gate.
And you just want to get out from under it as quickly as possible. So that has happened to me, once or twice in my time. And those one or two times was enough to make me really question,
is this the right thing for me
is this the right thing for me to do? And so I think just in thinking back on some of those experiences is like, I'm applying it to the, as a home builder where I could feel like maybe the numbers may look good on paper.
Yeah.
But then in the end, I may I may be eager to get out from under it, know? And so some of those thoughts do come to mind, but
of course,
also when it comes to home flipping, I've won more than I've lost.
There you go.
And so, same principle when it comes to transitioning to the builder world.
Yeah. And the risk reward factor comes in play, and you're taking those steps, and a lot of people don't even have the gumption to do it. I've sat here and I've thought about it several times. Done some flips. I also thought about doing the developing thing, but I never actually put it in motion and started doing some things. So I commend you.
I got linked up with this guy out in Dallas area, and he has a whole course, and some of his students out there in the Dallas area is where I'm gonna concentrate on, where you have those $1 million, $2 million homes, and it's average, it's pretty common out there, right? As opposed to here in the El Paso market, you get a $1 or $2 million home, they're few and far between, but out there it's pretty common, pretty normal to see homes in that price range. And when you look at the profit margins and you see what some of these builders and developers are walking away with at the end of the transaction, it's hard to ignore that and not think that, hey, I can do it. If that person can do it, I can do it too.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
So out of all of the things that you've done, there's a lot of those. What is it about Peter Huerta that has caused you to be so successful? What is it about you that has caused you to be so successful?
It's not me. It's the Lord, honestly. It's not me. I could have never done any of this on my own.
And the Lord couldn't have done it without.
Yeah. And so I just feel that it's not all me, it's him. I could not have pictured this for myself, And one of my friends was telling me the other day, he said, the Lord wants you to succeed more than you want to succeed, And when I heard that, I was like, that there's a lot of truth in that. And so I, to answer your question, I don't feel like it's me at all. All I did was just kind of remain consistent, right? Which is one of the key ingredients that I feel like a lot of agents are lacking. I just remain consistent. Even when the market is up, I was consistent. When it was down, I was consistent.
Yes.
And so if I had to attribute anything to my success outside of the Lord, I would say that it's just been consistent.
Showing up.
Yeah.
So we call this jumping in the foxhole. So we always ask people, what's the hardest battle you think you fought? And let's keep it towards businesses and everything like that. The hardest battle you fought that nobody knows about. See the successful person, they looking at you, you got success all over your face, but they don't know that you fought this battle. What battle was that?
Man, that's a good question. I could think of a ton of, but I would say the sacrifice, right? There's a lot of sacrifice involved. A lot of people see the outside success, but they don't see what goes on behind the scenes, right? And so we talked about the freedom that real estate provides you.
Yeah.
But there's also, in my opinion, you're also kind of locked down.
Yeah.
You do lose some freedom when it comes to real estate, right? Because sometimes you're not, even though I do have the flexibility of setting my own schedule, I am kind of at the mercy of other people's schedule as well, right? So sometimes they may tell me, hey, I'm a nurse. I work the graveyard shift, and I'm only able to look at homes during this time and this time. And I have to be in a home in the next 3 weeks, or I have to find something in the next 3 weeks because my lease is running out. And so for those 3 weeks, that's my number one priority. And, and so I have to accommodate their schedule as well. So going back to what you were asking me, I would say that there is a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of freedom, but there's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, that comes with it. And so a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people just see the outward success, but they don't really see what goes on behind the scenes to get you to that place.
Who do you lean on? Who's in that foxhole with you when things are just absolutely not going right, or you get punched in the face, or you fall on your chin? Who's in that foxhole with you? Who do you go to?
You know, a lot of it is just having a very strong prayer life.
Yeah.
You know, and so that does come into play, but at the same time, there are moments where you just want to vent to somebody, right? And you just want to.
Yeah.
A lot of times we end up venting to other people in the business because they're the ones that would understand the scenario that you're going through. And so I do have a handful of agents that I may vent to, but I also have a rule that I try to apply as best as possible. It's not always easy, but I do have this rule where I just allow myself, okay, sulk, you can cry, you can kick and scream for 5 minutes. That's it. You give yourself 5 minutes. After that, you got to keep going.
There you go.
You know, and so do I always live by that? No, sometimes it takes me 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But I do try to just give myself 5 minutes and say, okay, look, just get it all out.
Yeah.
Kick, scream, do whatever you got to do. But it happened. There's nothing you can do about it. And you just got to keep going forward.
Yes.
You got to pity party for a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get back in there, you know?
Yeah. What do you guys do? Curious.
So
who do you lean on? What do you do when deals fall apart or you lose a listing or things like that? What
Each
happens?
other. We have people within the brokerage that we talk to. I spend a whole lot of time reflecting, you know, just by myself, just thinking about things. How is there anything I could have done better? If so, what is it? Sometimes the answer is no, but it doesn't make it better. But you know, it helps me to get away from the negative aspect of it and, you know, go to the growth aspect. You know, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And, you know, there's not always the answer that I want to hear is not always there. And, you know, sometimes I just charge it to that's part of it. You know, that's what you charge to the game. That's just part of it. Then goes to his wife.
Yes,
he goes
and no.
to the attorney.
So the first time, always to my wife, right?
Yes.
But even then, you know, her life is taxing.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's times I don't go. You know, it's just not because it's not the right time, place. Her mindset is mostly taken from a case. So I don't want to bring in something else to that. So there's oftentimes I don't, right? But also I think what my thing is, I guess I'm blessed in so many different ways of how we've created this culture in this company. Yeah. We have tons of outlets, you know, in terms of what we have here without going to outside sources. Yeah. But I am the guy running this company. So there's certain things, even he's my person I go to, voice of reason more than anybody in the company. That's the guy, right? But even then, you know, because I am, you know, the CEO of this company, sometimes I just got to be like, hey, man, sharks don't care about Monday. Yeah. That's right. You know, they going out there just eating shit. Yeah. So you got to go out there and just eat. You know what I'm saying? So I have to go and just come to that point because I am the person. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me. So I just got to do that. And I know that's not helpful sometimes because you need to get it off. Yeah. But
sometimes it is helpful.
But the times I've been in those moments and I'm like, man, nobody care about nobody care, you know? Yeah. So, and you got to go just do what you got to do. So that's my philosophy, you know? So, but I'm lucky. We've created a great culture here. So we can confide each other, talk to each other, stuff like that. So
there is, going back to what I was telling you about the 5-minute rule that I try to give myself.
I like it.
There was a deal. Took me a lot longer than 5 minutes, but it was a $1 million deal and it fell apart the night before closing and that was it.
Yeah.
They never went back and like I didn't continue to work with them or anything like that. And so the night before closing, it fell apart and that one did take me more like 5 days. It didn't take me 5 minutes. It took me like 5 days, maybe even 5 weeks. I don't know. I'm still a little sore about that one.
That sucks.
So. Yeah, we've been there. We've been there. But I guess I'm also this when things like that happen. I'm also thinking like I don't ever get too high or too low, right? Which helps me, and I think that's a good thing for me because I don't never get too high or too low. Yeah, that just helps.
As long as I've known you've been pretty.
Even keel.
Yeah.
They say I got the paces of Job here. That's what they say. That's what they say.
So right along the same lines, though, I know you're a man of faith. We go to the same church. How has your faith influenced or even changed the way you lead and do business?
You know, it's kind of funny because I do kind of hang around a lot of the men from church, right? And so you get accustomed to a certain personality, a certain demeanor,
Yes.
and then you're out in the world and you're dealing with all these different personalities, different people, and you're just like, man, I'm gonna have to go pray real quick before I continue this phone call, you know.
Yes.
And so it's just really, if anything, it's just really strengthened my faith because there is a lot of ups and downs in this business. There's a lot of different personalities that you have to, you have to adjust to, and so I would just say that, it's if anything, it's just really strengthened my faith because the income is it does fluctuate, right? And so every month I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm leaning on you to provide for me this month and this year because without you, like none of this is possible. And also the same, on the flip side is like, I definitely, sometimes I do need to take some time and just really recalibrate on how I'm going to address this difficult agent or this difficult client. And I have to look at it through a different lens. So
you don't panic.
I try
that
not
much.
to. I try not to.
Yeah, I get you.
I think sometimes it's hard not to in certain situations, but at the end of the day,
Yes.
it's you just got.
Yes.
Now we have a rapid fire round. But
Okay.
Did you have something else you want to?
I do. I have some questions for you guys. I didn't come over here to just ask you one question. So as I mentioned before, I've been a fan of yours for a while. It's like, man, Ben, like he is the man because I've watched you grow from or transition from the government to agent to just leaving all that behind, pursuing real estate full time. But then at some point I saw you pursue your your broker's license. And so what made you pursue that? You weren't just an agent. You said you wanted more for yourself.
Well, it wasn't about me. When it really came down to it, had a guy we all Rick Snow. He did a lot with making me see something in myself that I probably didn't see. And when I really sat there, and I've had a background with leading and coaching and training and mentoring people, but that was in a different life. But when they turned the page and I saw how he did what he did, he made me see, hey, look, there's another level to this, if you will. And it really wasn't about me when he said it. It's about how, you can serve people. And so I felt the need to be a broker and have agents because I thought that I could truly add value to their careers. And that was the real reason at the end of the day, because I don't know why would somebody want to be a broker. Because if it ain't about that, I don't know if it's about, but it really came down to that. And he made me realize that there was another gear to me. Yeah. So that was it.
And then when you obtained your broker's license, you were owner or part owner, I'm not sure, of Exit nationwide company.
Right.
And then you ended up going independent. What was the deciding factor there? Like, and then what are your biggest differences and challenges between owning a franchise and being independent?
There was two things with the decision to go independent. The biggest thing was that I would have these conversations with agents over and over again. It'd be the same. Hey, Ben, you're great. You're this and all this other stuff. But I just want a little more the piece of the pie. And being up under the umbrella of a franchise, there's, it's like McDonald's. You can make the burger the one that way. And I kept on having those conversations, and I hated having conversations like that because that was outside my wheelhouse. And I felt like, okay.
Because that's how the franchise was structured.
Yeah. And so I tried to create something that would be conducive for not a place to start, but a place to be at and last, and also give somebody the ability to promote themselves, from whatever split to 100%, whatever that looks like. And it wouldn't be because they just wanted more piece of the pie, So that was the real reason. That was one of the reasons. Another reason, we have another podcast for this. It was, make sure I put this right. I learned the value of partnerships. So,
any regrets?
No regrets, because everything was a lesson learned. I don't never lose. I learn.
There you go.
So never lose, I learn. So
if you could go back in time, would you have gone independent first and just skipped the whole franchise, or did you learn valuable lessons in owning a franchise that prepared you for going independent?
that's a good question. And I don't know the answer to that one because I go back and forth about it, about that question. But, if I had to decide, no, I would keep everything the way it was. God had a plan, and that was the plan I was supposed to ride. So, I learned a lot.
Martez, I have questions for you. So I saw on your on a Facebook post you had posted a Sergeant Major coffee cup.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like going from that type of responsibility transitioning to real estate where essentially you're just in charge of yourself?
Yes.
And you're leaving. I'm assuming you had probably hundreds of troops under you and now you're just in charge of yourself. What was that transition?
Yeah. So it wasn't that difficult for me because I was always able to see myself as more than a soldier. Although I bled green and I was all about it. I did 23 years, but I was always able to see myself as more than a soldier. And now, and I still tell people this when I'm teaching at the Academy of Real Estate, I still tell people leaving one career and going into another career. For example, me as a sergeant major, when I came out here, I'm a private again. And I just had to get used to being a private again. And I always tell people, give yourself grace because, no one ever starts out as an expert. And I think one of the things that led to my success is I was able to be a private again. I was able to learn the things I needed to learn commensurate with whatever level, I was seeking. But it wasn't extremely difficult for me. Yeah.
But the thing about him, and I'm going yes and no, he don't know how to turn it off to a good point because he still is that person that in the company, he's everyone's voice of reason. He'll go see agents at the open houses. He go see people, have lunch with them, coffee, and he's still getting into, performance-based mindset. Hey, what's going on with you? And he's that guy in our company, which is a blessing, Hey, man, what's going on with you? So that's in his DNA.
That's never going to change.
That's never going to change.
That part.
And that didn't have anything to do with any aspect of real estate, but it has everything to do with real estate. To have that person here that people can go talk to and have that conversation with. I'm not that guy.
I'd have to agree with you because, like you said, it's in your DNA. And I feel like more companies could use somebody like Martez, right? Because when you get into real estate, depending on what type of brokerage you go to, everyone is out for themselves.
Yeah.
And yes, you may have one or two agents that are willing to help you and take you under their wing, but that's few and far between. And sometimes they're not going to do that forever. They may help you a little bit in the beginning, but at some point they might be like, I have my own business to run. I got, and you run into that a lot. And so to have somebody like you that like it's called the Foxhole podcast. So to have a mentor like you that goes from Foxhole to Foxhole, checking on your guys, that could be, I could see how that could be a tremendous asset to any company.
He pulls me in. Yeah, he comes, pulls me in.
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, Ben.
Yeah.
The percentage of agents out there that are coachable is so small.
For real. Yes.
The percentage of agents that are coachable is so small. How do you feel when you encounter that? Like, hey, I've already told you how to do it, what to do, what you need to do, and you're not adjusting fire, right?
Yeah.
Don't ask me this question.
How do you address that, or how do you respond to that?
Well, for me, and first of all, when teaching in my mind, teaching and coaching are two different things. So I do know that everyone's not coachable, and one of the ways I control that is, and it's hard for me. And I think I mentioned this to Ben the other day. It's so hard for me, but sometimes I tell myself, Martez, if someone doesn't ask your opinion, don't give it to them, because everybody don't want your opinion,
right?
And so I'm the guy, but I want to. Everybody don't want your help. I want to help everybody, but and sometimes I forget, and I put myself out there. But the truth is, Martez, everyone does not want your help. And I have to remember that. Although it's hard for me, I have to remember that. So if I'm helping, even if they ask me for my help, I have to realize that different people are at different levels of development. And then there's just flat out people out there that they don't want to learn. They just want to take up your time. And I have to be able to identify those too. So if you have not done what we talked about last time, you don't have the right to have this next conversation with me. And, and I found myself saying the same things over and over again in different conversations. Those are hints that let me know this person is really not interested in learning, growing, developing, and being coachable.
Yeah.
There you go, and being coached. They're fooling themselves, but they want to fool you. They want to try to fool you too.
Yeah. No, you see a lot of that. I would have to agree. I remember when I was a new agent and just trying to get help, it was pretty difficult because like I said, everybody's in their own little world. They're running their own businesses. And so, it was difficult to get help sometimes. Individual questions answered, individual scenarios answered.
Yeah.
But I remember telling myself, if I ever make it in this business, no matter how successful I become, I will always make time to pull the next agent up with me, right?
Yes.
I will always make sure that I don't become too big-headed or too arrogant to help the next man. But as much as I told myself that,
there you go.
That's who I want to be.
Yeah.
There were just agents that I was like,
you're conflicted.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I took an hour out of my time. We time blocked. We scheduled this appointment to take an hour and to discuss your business and how I can help you or what you need to do to grow and to take your business to the next level.
Yes.
And we sat there for an hour. I took time out of my own day. And, 2 weeks later, you're coming to me and you haven't done any of the things we talked about. A month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, and you haven't done anything from that initial conversation. And so I just started shortening the amount of time that I was available for that person. We went from an hour to maybe 5 minutes until you show me that you're ready to implement some of these things. And, then don't.
You take one step, I'll take two. You take 2 steps, I'll take 4. But you don't step, I don't step. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally good.
Respond to those who deserve, not to need, to deserve it.
Yeah.
And you can tell who wants it.
Yeah.
In this business, you can tell who wants it and who doesn't.
Yep. That's easy.
Yeah. I do have a question for both of you.
This is the Peter Huerta part.
Peter Huerta.
I get
the third host.
No, I mean it's not.
You're
often,
so good.
It's not
man.
often
You're
that I
good.
get to to have moments like these with individuals such as yourself. And like I said, Ben, man, I've been watching you for a long time, and I actually got excited a few months ago. Ben and I did half deal together. It wasn't a full deal. It was a half deal together.
Yeah.
He was co-listing or something with.
So that was her first deal.
First deal.
Yeah.
So I had to, I had to kind of get Ben involved on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
But I was just excited just to be working.
No, I was excited to work with you too.
And, we came together, we got the deal done and hit a few little bumps in the road, but I was just excited to work with you. And I appreciate the
I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
I don't think that deal would have been done without, the collaboration and working together. And that's what you're about. So I told her, I was like, man, this is, you got lucky. You got a great dude on the other side here. Like, this is crazy. Yeah.
And so we still haven't done a deal together.
No.
I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go on record and say we did a half deal together.
half deal.
But my question to you, Ben, and this is just because you're on the broker side, and what are some negative trends you see amongst agents in our local market that you feel we should address collectively?
I think the number one thing is that social media is great. It's the tool. It's a resource. It's another way to meet the client where they need to be met at, right? But I also think it's maybe the number one crutch too, because it diminishes the ability to have some people skills. That's number one in our market. We got folks out there doing amazing stuff on social media. I love seeing it, right? But when you have a conversation with this agent on the phone, like, no people skills.
Yes.
And totally different than what we've been used to. We got to have some people skills. We got to talk to people. We got to do these things. So I think that's one. All right. Now, locally, I think collectively as brokers, we could talk more. That's one of the things I started the broker series for, because I wanted to create some bridge of collaboration with brokers, that we talk more. Just as a broker, sometimes we have issues, we have thoughts, we have concerns. We have these different things. And, do we have someone we can go talk to as brokers? I don't think that is something that is really, really available. And I want to fix that, El Paso. So that's something I think that I'm going to challenge myself and charge myself with in the next coming years to kind of fix that and create that outlet.
So you mentioned two things that I actually kind of was wanted to address with somebody. But now that you mentioned it, I might as well just throw it out there for you. But you mentioned social media, and then you mentioned collaborating with the brokers here in El Paso, having more of a, let's say, maybe like a unified front, right? And so some of the things that I see, one of the negative trends that I see is there's a lot of agents that they don't even ask you. They don't even know what your listing agreement states, but they'll go to your listing and then they just start shooting video for content, not knowing if the seller even gave me permission to put their property on social media, right?
Yeah.
Or to advertise it on social media. And so they just show up. They don't ask you permission. They just see that the house is vacant. They start shooting content. And, when you call them for feedback, they're like, oh, no, I wasn't there for showing. I was shooting content, and so I don't know, maybe I'm old school or something, but I just kind of feel like
For the purpose and the reason you just stated. And I do remember I had a client. I helped her sell a house that she inherited from a man that she was taking care of. And she didn't want all of her family to know that she sold the house. And what if some people came into that house without asking me, shooting content, posting it all over Facebook. So I think to protect, honor, and legally respect what we said we would do for our client, people should get permission to do that.
I bring that up because I'm starting to see that it's getting a little out of hand.
It is. So, and so here's the thing. This is, I'm going to go from several different hats here. All right. I think I agree as a courtesy and the way we do business, we should go out there and, hey, hey, Peter, I want to shoot a video. I don't have a buyer. I just want to shoot a video. Can I do that? I agree with that. Right. I tell the agents that here. However, on the same token, I think we also got to make sure, what does the rule say? And there's not a rule for that. So, we have a lot of rules in the MLS. And if there isn't a rule, there's where the problem lies. Because if you don't have a rule, I'm one of those people like there's no rule.
There's no rule for it. Yeah.
Can you stop me?
Yeah.
Right. And so there's two hats I'm wearing there. I also agree that there's that's the reason we make these rules. There's a bunch of rules, but I think there's also, there's got to be something that's understood, but we also need to address the rule. It's getting out of hand.
I had a situation last year, as a matter of fact, where an agent went to my listing and tell me about it, went to my listing, took my sign down, started shooting his video like if it was his listing. And so I'm watching the video and I see my panel on the floor, and I'm just like, this is getting way out of hand.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I bring it to your attention, Ben, because you mentioned you're wanting to, to kind of organize the brokers or have more conversations with the brokers. And it's just something that I see that is a trend that is developing here.
Yeah.
That it can really spiral out of control unless we all come together.
And what I preach here is like, hey, you should call the listing agent. You should, do that. You should get that customer courtesy that goes in and say, okay, get the approval. But also I'm a broker and I got to also teach the rules.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, there is no rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the way our business practices should go. That's how I approach it. So, my job is to make sure people know the rules.
That's it.
I hear you. I think that was all the questions I had.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I got one more for Ben, but I'm waiting till the end. I got one.
Okay.
After the cameras is not rolling.
The camera. It's got to be on the camera.
Oh, okay.
About becoming an entrepreneur or real estate agent, or maybe see your podcast here and get inspired to walk the steps that you have taken. What's one thing you would want that person to know before they take the jump? Because I think this whole thing is all about the jump.
Okay. It's not what you see on TV. Right. It's definitely not what you see on TV. You go on Netflix and you see all these different real estate shows. It's nothing like that. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes on behind closed doors. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes on. Maybe even some sleepless nights. As I mentioned before, when I first got started, there's going to be a time period, especially if you go into real estate, there's going to be a time period there where you may not have income. And so you're going to have to be prepared for that. Can you sustain yourself for 6 months or 12 months, in case the income is not consistent, And so my advice would be to just make sure you're prepared financially, to make sure you have a nice little nest egg built up, because it may take a little while to generate business.
Yeah.
Generate consistent business, I should say.
Yes. Hey.
Last question for Ben.
Okay.
On camera.
Okay.
I noticed that you, in some of your military pictures, did have jump wings on your chest. When is Ben Williams gonna jump with Peter Huerta? Water jump in Florida. Easy on your body.
Peter, I'm going to look in your eyes and I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Maybe in the next one.
Maybe
Yeah, but not this one.
I try.
He tried.
Maybe with St. Peter.
Yeah. I'm going to make sure I look in your eyes and say, I'll tell you. Yeah. But no. Nah. I'm done. Hey, you got to shoot your shot, right? You got to shoot your shot. Well, thank you, Peter.
Yes,
we
sir.
appreciate you coming, man. This has been fun. Great.
Yes,
Learned a lot about you. And, man, stellar performance, bro.
Let's do it again.
Class A act. Thank you so much.
Well, we have been here with Peter Huerta. So refreshing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I learned a lot.
The pleasure, Ben.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate you.
Sir.
I'm sure Ben learned a lot, and we hope you learned a lot as well. We have another one coming up next week. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but tune in. I don't know if it'll be as exciting as this one with Mr. Peter, but tune in. You'll see. It's a surprise. We'll see you next time here on the Entrepreneur's Foxhole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.